Hey, how's it going everyone? It's Evil Monkey here, and today I wanted to recap the dev live that happened for the Season 4 patch that's about to drop in a couple days. And there was a lot of information here. Not only did we get stuff about the Season 4 patches that's about to drop, also stuff that's coming in the future. We also got information about Raven, Trials, Transcendent Weapons, and even the Mega Dungeon, which I was surprised at how good that Mega Dungeon looks. I'm super excited for that one now, but there was a lot of information here, so I'm going to stop yapping here and get you guys straight into the video so you can get all this information. So as always, I want to go ahead and start off with a roadmap that they showed off. So starting off here, this is all the stuff that is coming in this next patch. So we have, the Mega Dungeon, we have Trials, we have Raven, we have a monthly balance coming, new skins, lots of good stuff here coming, including Transcendent Weapons. And we'll go in depth into all this, but on top of this, they also showed us a little bit of what's to come in the next coming months. So here we have, of course, Ultimate Haley in September. We have new dungeon coming then, new trigger modules. Luna and Lepic are getting monthly balance, which I'm really excited for this one because they definitely need to be stronger for their DPS builds because they're definitely fairly weak right now. And then Lounge Trading will come then, along with Transcendent Weapon Trading. And then in October, we're going to have new Trials levels, Special Operation Improvement. They didn't talk too much about this. They just said it's something they want to improve. Then we have new trigger modules, of course. The Freyna rework, which I'm really excited for because Freyna is one of my favorite Descendants in the game. New Transcendent Weapons. And then something called Transcendent Weapon Farming Support. They did not talk about this at all. But yeah, these are everything that's coming in the next couple months. And a lot of stuff here is pretty exciting. I just wanted to show you guys this first so you get kind of an overview of everything that was talked about. And the next thing we want to talk about is probably the thing most people are excited for, the Transcendent Weapons, which is kind of our new end-game chase, since these will effectively replace Ultimate Weapons. Now, we did get a lot of information about Transcendent Weapons, but unfortunately we didn't get all the information I kind of wanted. Let's go over what we did get. So, one of the most important pieces of information we got was a new stat called Quality. Now, this will determine how good a Transcendent Weapon is. This will basically determine its stats, and the idea is the lower content you're in, the lower the quality, and the higher tier content you're in, the higher the quality. So, for example, if you're in something like Trials, you have a chance of getting the max quality, which we learned will be 400. Now, this may sound like it could be a frustrating thing since you're going to have to roll a random quality, since even Trials has a range of like 350 to 400. Well, it turns out there will be a pity system for this, and as you guys see on screen, it's this base quality, which apparently will go up every time you get a Transcendent Weapon. It will increase until it hits its max value. And once it hits its max value, you'll basically be guaranteed a 400 quality, if the content can drop it. So you have to do this in something like Trials, which can drop 400. If you're something like Sigma Sector, which will have probably a range of like 150 to 200, you will only at max be able to get the 200 quality weapon. So you do still have to go do endgame content, such as, once again, Trials or Onslaught. Now, they didn't go super in depth of what this quality will actually determine, and they said it will affect a lot of the stats. And the biggest question I honestly had from base quality is we don't know how long base quality lasts. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a whole season, or it could be permanent. They never actually talked about that. They did, though, give us some other information about Transcendent Weapons. So before we go into the other stats, there's two cool pieces of information they told us. Number one, because these are two pieces of information I really personally want to know. If you have skins on something like the base version of a weapon and it has a Transcendent version of the weapon, the skins will work on the Transcendent version. For example, I personally have a lot of skins on Thundercage, so my Thundercage skins will work on Stormcage, because Stormcage is its Transcendent version. This is really good, so you can still use all those old skins. The second piece of information that we got that was really cool was about crystallization catalysts. So, similarly, in the game, there's a way to transfer all your catalysts from a normal Descendant to an ultimate version of that Descendant. There will be a similar mechanic to transfer all your catalysts on your normal version of gun to your Transcendent version of your gun. They talk about this in the Q&A, That is a really cool thing because that means your catalysts that you use on all your ultimate weapons won't go to waste. You just have to wait for them to get their Transcendent version. So once again, I have Thunder Cage fully catted out. I can just transfer all those catalysts over to Storm Cage, and then Storm Cage will be fully catted out. So it's just a really good system. I'm really glad they did this. Now, let's talk more about the other stats that we can have here. So they did actually talk about this a little bit. So on Transcendent Weapons, you'll have your Transcendent ability and your substats. So your Transcendent ability will effectively have 150 points, and these 150 points will be divided up between 3 different stats. For your Transcendent ability, depending on how these points are divided between those 3 different abilities in your Transcendent ability, it'll affect all their damage. So if something has like 150 points in total, it'll just have its maxed out damage for that stat, but then your other 2 ability stats will suffer. So this kind of just becomes a balancing thing of what you really want your weapon to be. Apparently, from what they said, this will greatly affect how the weapon is played, from being a wave clear weapon to a boss killing weapon, and everything in between. And they showed a little bit of gameplay for this, but it's one of those things I think we'll actually have to get in game to really feel the difference. And then they talked also about substats. Now, substats, it seems like, will be kind of similar to weapon options and weapon cores, but randomized as you get the weapon. They said when you get these, you'll have 2 ones that are kind of like permanent to the weapon. That can be either 1 or 2, and then you'll have 2 subsets that are just completely randomized. So they didn't go into what these can really be, other than that they'll affect weapon damage. And that's pretty much it. They can be like utility as well, but we don't know anything of what's in the pool. So we'll have to wait until the actual game update comes out. And then they also went a little bit more in depth in saying we can re-roll these stats and do adjustments similar to Ancestor modules, but instead of all these stats being in one thing, the substats will have their own re-roll system, and the Transcendent ability will have its own re-roll system. So there will be 2 separated systems. The Transcendent ability will be kind of similar to how Ancestor modules work, and that it'll just be you can select the previous one or the new one. And then the nice thing about the substats is this one will be kind of closer to weapon options, and the fact that you'll be able to lock one of the options. So I think this will be a really fun thing. Once again, we don't fully know quite what all the options we can roll are, because they didn't go in depth. But I think this will definitely be a much better system than Ancestor modules themselves. Because, as I've said before, the idea of random rolled loot as the endgame chase is actually pretty proven to be a good endgame across several games. You know, you have things like Path of Exile, I believe World of Warcraft does something similar. Yeah, Destiny, I believe, has historically had similar stuff. You have plenty of games that show this is a good endgame chase. It's just Ancestor modules were horribly done. This seems like a much, much better system for an endgame chase, so I'm very excited to see how this one goes. So now let's talk about the new endgame mode, Trials. So for anyone who doesn't know what this is our new endgame mode that is more of just a wave clear one compared to something like Onslaught, which is defense mode. So this one, you just need to kill the enemies, and there will be different waves, and as the waves keep going on, it'll keep getting stronger and stronger. In fact, how they put this was, you'll have a certain number of waves, and each of those waves will be within a cycle, and I think it's like 5 to 7 waves per cycle. And then after that cycle ends, you can keep going, or you can leave, and if you keep going, the next cycle starts, and all the enemies will be much stronger. You also have this chance to fight a boss every so often in the waves, and that boss, you can either fight him or ignore him. And if you fight the boss, you get even more rewards. If you ignore him, you know, you just don't have to risk losing the run. They said this will also be more of a roguelike element compared to other modes. So not only will it have the card system of Onslaught, but more of an overhauled card system where they said it's a lot more improved. They've went a little bit in depth into it. Apparently the cards will be close to the cards that you need. Like, they'll be actually reflecting of your build. And there will be much more cards than previously. In fact, they showed on screen like a huge list of cards. They didn't go in depth of what each of these cards do, unfortunately, though. On top of that card system, apparently the zones we go to will also be randomized. So you'll clear a certain number of waves, and then you'll be randomly teleported to a new biome. And this will keep happening, and the biomes you get teleported to will be completely randomized. We don't know the order. They said this is where the roguelike element comes in, and they said this will kind of make it so each run's unique, which seems, in theory, like it'll be a lot of fun, because the more unique a run is, the less repetitive it will feel, which will help a lot with the grinding. But we'll see when this actually comes out, how that actually feels. But there were also a couple other pieces of information that give us the trials outside of just how the game mode will work. So number one, they did say they will be expanding out trials. In fact, you guys probably saw it in the roadmap that we showed towards the beginning. So we will get new stages / levels. They also said potentially in the future they may expand out the number of cycles you can go to. So right now it's max of 4, but they said they might add 5 or, cycle 5 or 6 in the future. We'll see with that. They also talked about how if you don't have a build ready for trials, you can use one of their pre-built builds. It's this new thing they're trying out. Also, if you do use one of those pre-built builds, you will be in a separate queue from people who go in with their actual builds. So if you use one of the pre-built ones, you'll be in the pre-built queue. And then if you use one of your own builds that you've made, you'll be in just the general queue. And these will be 2 separate queues, so you won't play with each other. This will probably help, eliminate some frustration. I imagine is why they did it, since, if you're just trying out a new pre-built build, you may not be used to it, versus players who, are using a build they've already tried out for a long time, are used to it. This is probably just to eliminate frustration. I'd probably recommend, though, at the end of the day, just using your own pre-built builds, because usually the developer builds are not that great, and they may be using some of the top builds. I don't know yet. We'll see with that, but I'm assuming pretty much any build you do yourself at the end of the day will probably be better. But once again, we'll see when it actually comes out. But that's pretty much all the information they really gave us. I'm excited for Trials. And the next thing we gotta talk about is another really big thing, and that's the Mega Dungeon, which I was actually pleasantly surprised about when they talked about this. So my expectations for this were overall fairly low when they'd previously talked about this, because they had thrown out the Mega Dungeon previously in other dev streams. The first time they ever talked about Mega Dungeons was Void Vessel. Then the next time was Supermassive Reactor, which was our first Axion Plains dungeon. So this term has been thrown around more than a couple times. So this time, though, it actually feels like it is going to be a mega dungeon. So that's why I was surprised. Number one, this won't be something they expect you to farm continuously. They said this will basically be non-repeatable content, meaning they want to build this more around an experience. And they view this as something that you're not just going to do back to back to back. This will be more of a every once in a while thing you run through. Meaning there's not really anything you're going to farm here. It will be endgame content, meaning you can get things like Transcendent Weapons here. But there's not going to be any characters or specific weapons that drop here like with other dungeons. This is also going to be a dungeon that they expect you to take 20 minutes to do each run, which honestly that probably means it'll be about 15 minutes each run if you're running top characters. And there's just a lot of cool things they talk about with this. So there will be new mechanics. In fact, you guys can probably see the gameplay on the screen there. There's some things that aren't just kill enemies. You'll run around, destroy some stuff to stop a room. There will also be destructible environments. So there's a part where they show where you shoot the scaffolding under an enemy and it drops them into the abyss. There's another one where you shoot this, it looks like some kind of ship hanging. And you shoot the crane that's holding it, and then the crane just breaks and drops it on enemies. So it looks like there's a lot of cool things. They also talked about some other things that kind of debuff enemies. Another thing people might be curious about is the enemies themselves. They said for the enemies here, they're not going to be any tankier. Instead, what they're going to do is more damage. It said they'd kind of learn their lessons from past things with bullet sponges, that it wasn't that fun of content. So instead, the enemies are just going to hit really hard, but they're not going to be that tanky. So this will be really interesting. And I think just about everything they described about this Mega Dungeon sounds actually just overall really good. We definitely needed content with more mechanics. The enemies won't be bullet spongy. And also, Corell's fight looks really good. They showed some images of it. It looks fun. It looks like it has unique mechanics. You'll also be fighting Corell 3 different times, it said, throughout the whole dungeon. So it sounds like you'll be fighting him as a mini boss, and then he'll also be the final boss. Each time they said he'll have entirely different fights. So you won't, it won't just be like, yeah, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It'll be Corel Mini Boss 1, Corel Mini Boss 2, and then Final Boss, and each one will have a completely different kit. Once again, all this sounds incredible. I'm, once again, pleasantly surprised about this. I talked about this, ironically, a couple days ago on my stream, where I had said if they want this Mega Dungeon not to just be something where they're going to have to nerf in like 2 months, or something where they're going to have a lot of complaints because it takes so long to get through grindable content, they're just going to have to style it more after like a classic raid, where it's something you expect players to do every once in a while, and not make it something you expect players to have to farm, back to back to back. So I am actually pleasantly surprised that they did go down this route. This actually does sound like a good dungeon. I think this will be a good player experience. Now, on top of all this, there's also going to be an event relating to the Mega Dungeon. So, it's going to be called the Conquest Event. And they did talk a lot about this event, and there was a lot of information, but we're going to just kind of sum it up here. So effectively, it will be broken up into 2 phases. So this will start 2 weeks after the patch. They said you need this time to be able to, get your builds all ready, to, experience the dungeon, plan out stuff, get your teams organized. Because effectively, the first phase will be exclusive to 4-man parties. They expect you to have to go through with 4 players, and you won't be able to do anything less. So you won't be able to run with like a 3-man squad, you have to run with 4 men. And there will be some interesting restrictions here. So number 1, you won't be able to have any duplicate descendants, meaning you can't run with 2 Serenas and a Luna and a Eugen, or, a Eugen and like 3 Valbys. You have to do something like, Valby, Luna, Serena, Inez combo, something like that. So this will actually be pretty fun to see, I think. There will be some really cool things here. I think it'll be cool to see all the different combos people do. I know eventually people will settle on like one combination that will dominate the leaderboards, because there will be a leaderboard for this. But I think overall it will be really, really cool to see. And there will be rewards for people who are in the top of the leaderboards. You will also, if you just go through, you will get like some rewards, some cosmetic rewards. I believe it's a name tag, and a title, and probably a little medal for your, or trophy, I guess you'd call it, for your lounge, as you guys can see there. There'll also be some medals as well, it looks like. There'll be a lot of cool things here. And then for anyone who's worried that, well, this 4-man, I don't have 4-man, that's where the second phase kicks in. So phase 1 is just for 4-man squads. Phase 2 is for everything else. Phase 2 is where you can run through solo and everything. And they'll basically be the same as phase 1, but once again, you can run with a number of teams. I don't really know why they separated it out like this, but I will be curious to see how this goes. I am excited for phase 1 because I do want to see all those different combinations of teams. I do think this will be a fun event. Also, this will be a new difficulty event that will only be for this event. Meaning the Conquest difficulty will only last during this event, and then afterwards, it will disappear. They didn't say if it will come back ever, so if you guys want to try this really hard difficulty, don't forget to do it during this event. I'm definitely going to be trying this 4-man squad. I am definitely excited for this. Seems like it'll be a lot of fun. And then on top of this, there will be some creator challenge event that they announced. It'll be going on for a little bit. There'll basically be 2 teams, and there will be some cool prizes going on during this. So definitely make sure to check that out. And that's pretty much all they announced about the Mega Dungeon. I'm definitely excited for this. Once again, I think this is definitely a good direction for it. And now let's go into something a lot of people are excited for, myself included, Raven. So, some quick information you guys need to know about Raven before we talk about her kit. She is going to be a non-attribute descendant, with being type fusion and type singular. So if you're looking for reactors, you need fusion non-attribute and singular non-attribute reactors. Now, if we talk about that, she's also going to be a hybrid descendant, meaning those reactors will be important. She'll be kind of like Supply Moisture Valby, in that most of her damage seems like it'll be from skill power, but she'll be using weapons, in this case a shotgun, to be able to apply those abilities. So you really will want the correct reactor and the correct modules here. And it is kind of curious that she will be a hybrid Descendant. I was expecting her to be more of a just pure gun Descendant. So I am actually curious about how this is going to go. But the scalings seem really good. And she also will scale off shields as well, which that one was also unexpected. But overall, her kit looks phenomenal. Once again, basically how her base kit will work is you'll have abilities that scale off skill power, but then you'll be using your shotgun to either stack up those abilities or to be able to apply extra damage. So the shotgun will also be really important. Then she also has 2 Transcendent modules. So the first one is one that changes her into more of a skill power character, and that's Nightfall. This also turns her into a skill crit character. So this one will mainly just be pure casting. This one looks really cool. It looks like it has a lot of AoE and wave clear. I'm actually really excited for this one because just stylistically it just looks amazing. You summon all these orbs. It looks just awesome. The orbs shoot down. Overall, this one looks really cool. And then we have Law of the Back Alley. This one changes her quite a bit. This one changes her from being a pure shotgun Descendant to basically being able to use any firearm she wants to use. It also gives her bonus damage for her firearms, and also makes it so that she applies a lot of debuffs, and apparently her damage will scale with these debuffs. Which these give her a pretty good wide variety of playstyles. So I'm definitely excited for Raven. I'm 100% going to come out with build videos for her. But we'll have to wait until the patch. I'm super excited for this. And then on top of this, we're also going to get some trigger modules. So let's go and dive into those. And the 2 new trigger modules we'll be getting is Perfect Positioning. Now this one's obviously meant to be Raven. This one will give her not only increased shields, because she scales off shields, but also a skill power. So this will obviously be a really good one for her. The question will be how easy it is to stack up. So we'll have to see once this comes out how practical this one actually is versus what we have in the game. And then we also have one that I think they mean it to be for Keelan, because obviously you can see Keelan on the screen there. And even though it doesn't say all the information there, it apparently debuffs the enemy and also gives you skill power. Unfortunately, we can't see how much skill power you get because it's cut off on the screen there. But hopefully these trigger modules will be good, and I am hoping Keelan will feel a lot better to play with this, since he has been weak for a fairly long time, especially with the monthly balance also coming up for him. I do hope Keelan will be a lot better. And then, of course, we also have a monthly balance patch here. This time it's going to be for Keelan and Kyle. Now, they did say this one really won't be a rework. They'll be changing their kits just slightly to make them feel better to play. But overall, this will just mainly be a number increase. They'll just be increasing their stats to make them stronger. In fact, they said going forward, there will be a lot of characters who will just end up getting stat increases, since they think their kits are fine, and they don't need reworks. They just, need their stats increased to be able to keep up with damage. And that's what will be done here with Keelan and Kyle. And then some unexpected news. Fellows will be getting a level increase. So this will not only increase their level, but it will also increase the stats. So you should expect their stats to be much better, meaning they'll have a lot better utility. And of course, we gotta talk about the battle passes coming. So this battle pass is gonna be a little bit different from the other ones. There's some really good stuff about this, and I think one really, really scummy thing about it. But we'll get into that in a minute. The really good things are, so there's no more ultimate weapon in the battle pass because now there's, transcendent weapons. So instead, we're gonna get more cosmetics, including hover bike cosmetics. And in fact, a lot of the cosmetics here looked really, really good as they were showing them off. So we had the typical ones and like I said, the bike ones, and we'll have some more cosmetics beyond that. And then there's also one other really cool thing here. So if anyone didn't play during Season 1 and you're really sad you missed the Season 1 Battle Pass cosmetics, it turns out now the bonus shop will have those. I'm assuming as we keep going on, they'll add like previous seasons. So if you guys did miss out on previous seasons, this is your chance to grab those cosmetic loot from the Season 1 Battle Pass in the bonus shop here. Also, the Season Battle Pass cost will not change. It'll be the same as always, 500 caliber, and you'll also get more premium benefits applied. Now, most of these premium benefits are cool. They just give you like extra gold. But there is one really scummy thing here. And if you guys can see there, you guys saw on the screen there on the premium benefits, there's that little weapon symbol. It increases your drop rate for Transcendent Weapons. I think this kind of goes more into the territory of pay to win. So I don't think it's that really good of a thing for them to do. In fact, I think it's pretty bad for them to do. Once again, I think this is pretty scummy. But yes, if you want the highest chance of a Transcendent Weapon, you need to get the Battle Pass, because this will increase it by, I believe, up to 20% for your drop rate. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that's scummy, or do you guys think that's okay? Otherwise, the Battle Pass looks good. Everything else I really liked, except for that one scummy thing. And of course, we also got new skin lines coming in. For this one, we have in the season for first update, we have the Angel and Demon skins, which these look amazing. I'm definitely day one picking these one up, especially because Blair, my favorite character, is finally getting another unique cosmetic. You can see him in the background there. He's getting the Sage skin. We also have Haley, Daya, we have Inez, we have Valby, and we have Serena, all getting unique cosmetics. These all look phenomenal. I'm excited for all these. And also Viessa and Raven are also getting new premium skins, which I'm excited for the Viessa one. I think I'm going to pass personally on the Raven one. I think once you turn that skin around and look at the back, it just aesthetically was ruined for me. So I'm going to pass on that one personally. Which is a shame, because I think overall on the front side that skin looks really good. I think they just, once again, I think there was a million ways they could have done that skin better, but I think they kind of just ruined that skin personally for me. Once again, that's just a more of an aesthetic design choice. If you guys like the skin, then go ahead and pick it up. It's all just a personal choice for this one. And then, of course, on September the 3rd, we'll be getting another new skin line. You guys can see a preview there. They said they would talk more about this later in a later video, so we'll have to wait on that one. But once again, overall, these demons and angel skins look phenomenal. I'm super excited for those. We're also going to have a new boost path that drops. Now, this will only be for people under mastery, I believe, 20. But this will give you a lot of good resources. Not only do you get a lot of crystallization catalysts, you also get bunny for free, which will be really good, since my recommendation usually to new players is build Bunny, because she's not only good with wave clear and will get you through things like Axion Plains, she also scales really well into endgame. So I think this is going to be a really good boost path for new players. But unfortunately, it will not be available to anyone above Mastery 20. And as with every major update, we also have a whole bunch of events coming out. A lot of these are just events we've seen in the past. I think the biggest one personally is going to be the research one. Speed up that research, especially for Raven, since we'll all be waiting on Raven getting built in the lab. But outside of that, it's pretty typical. We just had more events we've had before. There's nothing really special here, personally, I think. We will be getting another Assemble event. And then soon enough, we'll also be having another Ancestor module event. I think that's the next biggest one. But unfortunately, that one won't be until September. Otherwise, lots of cool events coming. And then, of course, we have some quality of life improvements here. There's actually a lot here, but the main ones are the debuff structure improvement and the down but not out improvement. So for the debuff, apparently now characters won't overlap their debuffs, like they won't reset each other. For example, their thing was if you have two Ajaxes, his debuff from an enemy running in and to his bubble and him lowering their attack. If you have two Ajaxes, apparently they'll be counted as two separate debuffs, so one won't reset the other. Apparently this will work for like every character. The question I had from this is, does that mean that they stack? And they didn't really answer this. So we don't know if they don't stack, but they're counted as two different ones, or if they do stack. And honestly, if they do stack, that would be kind of insane, because that would mean you could effectively just stack a whole bunch of resistance reduction from even though they're the same ones, which should basically just shred bosses. So we really don't have much information on this, on how it's going to go. Once again, if you could stack something like defense neutralization with 4 characters, you would effectively eliminate all of a boss's resistance values and just shred it. So we'll have to see when the game update comes out, but apparently they won't reset each other. They'll be counted as, they'll have each their own individual timers. The other thing I'm worried about is this may cause clutter on the screen. because sometimes you do need to pay attention to debuffs on, once again, like bosses. If you have like 5 extra rows of debuffs on the boss, you can't tell which ones are yours. This may become an issue for visual clarity. Well, we'll have to see how this goes. There's good things and bad things with this one. And then the other thing, the down but not out, apparently while you're resing someone, you'll get some additional survivability resources so that you don't go down while you're reviving them. They said something about a shield. And then after you do revive the person, that person cannot be knocked down. And we'll have some extra survivability sets as well. So this will be really good for when someone gets rezzed. They won't just instantly go back down, because I'm sure everyone else has had that frustration where either you get rezzed or you res your teammate, and then one of you guys just goes immediately down. It's just a cycle of trying to get that person up, and now the boss is, damage. So hopefully this will improve that. There's also some other really good improvements here throughout the quality of lives, but those were the 2 biggest ones. And that's going to go and wrap up for this recap video. Now, I'm really excited for Season 4, especially after all the information they dropped here. There's lots of cool stuff. But let me know what you guys are most excited for down in the comments down below. And if you did enjoy this video, if you could hit that like button, I would appreciate it. Also, if you want to know when new videos are going to come out, don't forget that subscribe button and that notification bell. Also, if you want to chat anything for Descendant, I do stream almost every day on Twitch. I'll go ahead and throw up the information on the screen there. Once again, if you guys could hit that like button, it really does help out the video, get out to more people. But that's going to go and wrap up for this one. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch y'all again later.